Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jimmy Steller, and in light of the first Expendables review, I've brought together the two people with whom I saw the movie, so we're going to review the sequel for old time's sake. So joining me for the first time in quite some time is my good friend,
Hamburgler55.
Alright, and after great persuasion to come out of retirement for this video, here's my brother,
Rorschach the Third. How's it going?
Alright, so we just saw Expendables 2.
Yeah, we did.
Exactly. So I think we can safely say this was an...
Badass.
Yeah, we could say that. It was...
Another word for it.
You could say this was a very action-packed sequel that quite surpassed the original in terms of action. Yeah. But anyway, so we're each going to get our own personal say-so on what we thought of the film. And then we're going to just shoot back and forth on what we thought. Pretty much how most of these collaborations go. So let's have Hamburglar start us off.
Hey guys, you know what? I think The Expendables 2 was Stallone's best written movie of all time, actually. Where do I start? Well, this movie features quite the romantic theme, actually. It's not all action. So if you're looking for a romantic movie, you know, bring the girlfriend out. You can bring her to this.
Your girlfriend is 40 years younger than you.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid to bring her out. I mean, I think Jimmy Steller here came more for the romance and the action, but...
Yeah, sure.
Always had a soft spot for the rom-coms.
Exactly. But I mean, Chuck Norris makes a pretty good cameo for all you Chuck Norris fans. It's better than his performance in Forest Warrior, I think. But,
sure. Better than most of his performances.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I actually liked it a lot more than the first one. A lot more action and witty lines, witty writing. And that's it. I guess I'll hand it off to Jimmy Steller or someone. There you go.
Yeah, okay, I'll go next. I gotta disagree with you on one thing. I did not go in expecting a lot of romance, of course. I did go in expecting a lot of ridiculous, over-the-top 80s homages, because these stars are all from the 80s, and they're all, as they say at one point in the movie, they all belong in a museum.
They got some new blood in there, too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have a few new faces. Ironically, they're the most expendable ones in the movie. Of course, I should say, as I already put in the intro, this review will have spoilers, just reiterating that. But just repeating that. But anyway, on to this opinion of mine. It has been such a long time that I've seen such a self-aware movie. I mean, that's what struck me the most about the sequel. It's filled with a lot of gratuitous violence, which is what we all expect, and it's filled with big action names, which we certainly expected, and we certainly got. But what I didn't expect was how meta the movie was going to be. I mean, they were, at half a dozen points in the movie, they were this close to basically turning towards the camera and say, hey, we're in this, you know, we're in this. So, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, obviously, this is the kind of movie you watch after you've had some steak and a few beers, which I can testify that all three of us, right, guys?
Yeah.
All three of us
covered.
Yeah, all three of us, we underwent that ritual before we saw this schlock fest. But yeah, so, I mean, for pure silly action, although I will give the movie credit, they do improve very much on showing the action from the original. I mean, there's much less shaky cam. It's much more, well, it's much better presented, I think.
Cameraman does less break dances.
Exactly. So I got to give the movie credit where credit is due for providing what their fans will be expecting. So, I mean, obviously you're going to know whether you're going to like this movie or not based solely on who's in it and the trailer, basically. Anyway, to round this off, let's hear what Rorschach the Third has to say.
Okay, people, I'm coming out of retirement here. I've got a bit of a limp and I'm using a cane, but don't worry, I put on a super badass leg brace, so it's all good. I'm back. Alright, moving on. So, okay, Expendables 2, best way I can describe it. It's like an action movie motel. You go in, you park your car, which immediately explodes as soon as you leave it. You check your brain at the door, enjoy your stay for the weekend. You come back and you got some pretty awesome lines to talk about.
Of course.
You know, this is the kind of movie you see. You bring your buddies. You have some laughs. You know, it's badass. It's like the first one, but bigger, better, and in general, just more awesome. I don't know. It's the best way I can round that one off.
Yeah, of course. So let's start this off with a obvious question. Who had the most badass walk-on in this movie?
I'm going to say 2 words, and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. Knock, knock.
Okay. For the record, I have a much better feeling on what Hamburglar's going to say. Who had the most badass walk-on?
You know what I'm gonna say?
Because I think he'll agree with me when I say Chuck Norris.
Oh, come on.
You know
That was so
what?
cliche.
You know what? I think I'm gonna say Arnold
Really?
when they uncover the mask. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And
I gotta say, they really did their best to... Because the whole movie feels like it was written by the fans. Honestly. I feel like...
by the actors trying to revive their dead careers.
Yeah.
in a way, that's true.
They did
Well, the thing is, Sylvester Stallone wrote the screenplay, but I feel like he wrote it as if he was a fan of himself and these 80s stars, which isn't that unbelievable, to be honest.
To be fair, to do the movies he's done, you have to be sort of a big fan of yourself.
Yeah, that's true. But the point is, he wrote it as if he was one of the fans. So you have these amazing walk-ons by Chuck Norris. You have this amazing entrance by Bruce Willis and Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've got all the greats just walking in, and they know they're great. It's almost they're almost playing themselves. Did you guys think that too?
I don't know. Whenever you see the Governor on screen, you see Arnold. You don't see whatever his name. What was his name? What was his name?
I think his name was Trench.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I agree with what he had to say there. You see them from their big action movies, and from back in the day.
Yeah.
Let me just ask a quick question here. Anybody else wonder what the hell was Liam Hemsworth doing there?
Well, he was obviously attracting the younger audiences, though considering his biggest movie was The Hunger Games and that Hannah Montana movie, I really don't know what audiences Stallone was thinking he would bring in. But to be fair, it was a much better choice than what he initially decided on. He initially decided on Taylor Lautner. Just let that sink in. We could have had the Twilight fans lining up to seeing an Expendables movie.
Hey, the sniper would have had nice abs.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah. But in terms of Liam Hemsworth, he... Obviously, I already said
He
this
has
is...
the lifespan of a mayfly in this movie. Jesus, he's in then out.
Well, yeah, obviously there were spoilers in this review, and yeah, he has a very short appearance amongst the Expendables. It's really kind of obvious what role he's playing. He's playing the hopeful young guy who's cutting out early so he can go live with his girlfriend. And obviously, once anyone in these kinds of movies mentions that they've got something waiting for them on the other side, you know they're going to get capped.
Well, Jason makes it.
Yeah, of course, but
Yeah.
look what... Yeah, they brought back Jason's ridiculous girlfriend problem, so...
At least he doesn't stab any more basketballs.
Yeah, so, I mean, thankfully they gave it much less screen time than the first movie. So, and honestly, I should go back to my earlier comment. They did look at... I feel like it really felt like they looked at the first movie and thought, so where did we go wrong? Well, we had too much shaky cam. We had too much focus on this useless subplot involving Jason Statham's love life, so let's cut those things down, and yeah.
And
So, I mean, there was that. They did try to work on the flaws that the first movie had and try to make the second movie better. You got to give them credit for that.
one of the flaws in the first movie was there wasn't enough action. So they really stepped that one up in the second
It's
one.
only because
That's true,
you're
yeah.
comparing the two together. You know, if you saw the first one, you could think, where would you go from here? How can you get more action? Now that we've seen the second one, it's, holy crap, the first one had action?
Well, I mean, the action scene at the end of the first movie was nevertheless, it was very impressive, and you guys were impressed by it when we reviewed it, so...
Yeah.
But at the risk of echoing our previous review, let's just focus on the sequel for now.
This whole thing is an echo.
That's true, isn't it? But, yeah, so back to Liam Hemsworth, yeah. He basically exists much like the
He's the bick raiser of the team. You know, you could kill somebody with it. You know, he does. But then he gets thrown in the trash when they don't need him anymore.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, the script really got rid of him quick when he was established. Because the thing is, I should say, walking into the movie, I knew one of the Expendables was going to die because they basically advertised that in the summary because they said when one of their companions is killed. And I thought for sure it was going to be Jet Li. And I think a lot of people in the IMDb message boards thought it was going to be Jet Li as well, considering he was only there for when the movie was shot in China. So it was kind of a surprise for me when Liam Hemsworth was the guy that they all started crying over.
Well, they did get rid of Jet Li anyways.
I think Jet Li had one of the best roles in this movie.
Yeah, he literally drops out of the movie. Literally drops out of the movie.
All the way to China, too.
Yeah, exactly.
With his friend.
Yes, of course. I guess Jet Li retired, I suppose. But they still got Dolph Lundgren back.
Somehow he got more brain damage.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren. Yeah,
He's
the thing
actually
about
a genius.
it should be said. Yeah, Dolph Lundgren in the
Greek tragedy, isn't it? A brilliant mind trapped inside Dolph Lundgren.
yeah. Well, Dolph Lundgren does get a lot more screen time in this movie. As a result, Terry Crews and Randy Couture get much less screen time, which is a pity because I think Randy Couture, being one of the only legitimate fighters in the cast, should have been featured a lot more, should have been used a lot more, I think. But
that's cool because you see everybody else fight. He's the only one using any actual technique.
You know what, speaking of Liam Hemsworth, Stallone actually gives Billy the Kid quite the rocky grave.
Ah, yeah, Rocky Grave, there we go.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically half the movie right there.